All right. So you sent this over to me, this blog post called Astrology Diaries. Sagittarius season made me do it.
Yeah.
And I'm already like
I love the title.
intrigued. Like, how does astrology and creativity, how are those two things intertwined?
Well, I think you'll find this deep dive really interesting.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people can relate to the blogger's experience.
Yeah.
And we're going to explore how Sagittarius season can be that catalyst for creative action. But I think the message even goes deeper than just astrology. It's about like this human desire to express ourselves like authentically.
Yeah. And you know, I've always felt a shift when Sagittarius season rolls around, you know. I don't know if it's just like, oh, the holidays are coming, or, you know, whatever, but it's always like this kind of
It's in the air.
It's in the air, yeah. This energy to like try new things or finally do those passion projects I've been putting off.
Totally. So Sagittarius season, that's when the sun is transiting through the Sagittarius constellation. Yeah. And that's associated with Jupiter. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion and abundance. So Jupiter's influence, you know, it brings this optimism, a sense of adventure, and it really encourages us to take risks.
So it's not just like good vibes and holiday cheer.
No.
There's like actual astrological significance.
Exactly. And this blogger, my Nemcern, they really tap into that energy beautifully.
Okay.
You know, they talk about putting off writing for a long time, and then boom, Sagittarius season hits. And suddenly they feel super inspired to start this blog.
It's interesting how those like external forces can align with what we want to do anyway.
Right.
It's like sometimes we need the universe to be like, hey, do the thing.
Totally. And what I thought was really funny and relatable is how they described their mind.
Oh, yeah.
They say it was absolute chaos, full of like half-formed thoughts and weird analogies.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
That's pretty much my everyday life.
I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Yeah.
But that messy, chaotic stage, that's usually where the creative process begins. Oh, for sure. It's like all these ideas are just like
bouncing around.
Yeah, just like playing it around, waiting to like be organized, shaped into something that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes that initial chaos can be so overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. And the blogger, they mention their astrological signs in the post, and I think that gives us even more insights into their experience.
Okay.
They say they're an Aries sun, Leo rising, and Libra moon.
Okay, hold on now. This is where I need a little bit of guidance.
Okay.
Because I know a little bit about, you know, astrology, like the basics. But when you start talking birth charts and stuff, like, whoa, wait.
I gotcha.
So what does that combination tell us?
Okay, so Aries sun, that's a fire sign, right? So that brings a bold energy and just this natural drive to initiate. It's that just go for it energy.
Okay.
And then their Leo rising, that adds a little flair for the dramatic. A desire for self-expression. They probably, you know, love being in the spotlight and sharing their creations with the world.
So we've got the dreamer, the action taker.
Yes.
And now?
What about Libra moon?
That's where it gets interesting. So Libra is all about balance and harmony, but it can also make you want to weigh all your options super carefully.
Oh.
It's the voice of reason.
Okay.
It's like the diplomat of the zodiac.
So it's a little bit of an internal tug of war then.
Yeah.
The Aries like, let's go, let's do it. Leo's like, ooh, I wanna shine.
Yes.
And then Libra's like, hold on. Is everything perfect?
Exactly. That's the dance of the zodiac, that interplay between all those different energies within us, right? It's not about one sign being dominant. It's how they interact with each other.
And I'm starting to see how this all ties back to the blogger's experience.
Yes.
You've got this energy of Sagittarius season. Maybe that was what they needed to push past that Libra moon hesitation.
Yeah.
And really embrace that Aries and Leo, like, let's do it. Let's go big.
Absolutely. It's about how those external forces, you know, those astrological seasons,
they can like amplify certain parts of our personality and create the perfect time to act.
It's making me think about my own birth chart and what energies might be influencing me right now.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about astrology, right? It gives you this framework to understand yourself and the world, but ultimately it's up to us to, you know, to make choices to take action.
Okay. So we've talked about Sagittarius season, how that has this very unique energy.
Right.
And we've talked about the blogger's astrological makeup, how that kind of adds another layer to this whole thing. But I think what I'm really curious about is this idea of embracing imperfection when we're being creative.
Okay. And that is where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. We're going to explore that, the blogger's journey offers some really good insight into overcoming that fear of not being good enough and how to embrace, authenticity in your creative work.
I can't wait. This is already giving me so much to think about.
Good.
We're back. And I am still thinking about those 3 signs you talked about.
Yeah.
Aries, Leo, Libra, all kind of duking it out.
Yeah.
Inside this blogger's head.
Battling it out for dominance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to me.
It is interesting.
It's such a
It kind of shows how
vivid picture.
Astrology, it's not just about predicting the future. It's really about understanding human personality, how we're all these mixes of different drives and desires.
And it makes me think, is Sagittarius season, does it amplify certain signs?
It's not so much that it amplifies certain signs as it provides a backdrop that encourages certain actions or ways of being.
Okay.
So, Sagittarius season with its focus on expansion and risk-taking, it might just feel more supportive or more natural for signs that already lean towards those qualities.
Okay, so someone with strong Aries or Sagittarius placements, they're going to feel this extra woo.
Moto.
But someone with maybe a lot of Capricorn or Virgo energy, they might need to
Yeah, they might feel a little more resistance.
Yeah, ugh, I got to work for this.
Totally. But, that's where astrology can be really helpful.
Right.
Because it can help us recognize those potential challenges and work with them consciously.
Work with them, yeah.
But let's go back to this blog post for a sec.
Okay.
We were talking about this whole embracing imperfection thing in creative pursuits.
Right. And the blogger talks about how writing helps them process their thoughts and emotions. It's they're creating order out of that initial chaos we were talking about.
Yeah. And they describe it as an outlet,
Uh-huh.
a way to kind of make sense of the world and their place in it.
Right.
Which I think is something a lot of creative people do.
Totally, for sure. When I'm feeling stuck or overwhelmed, I have to do something creative, whether it's writing, painting, even just doodling. There's something about just channeling those feelings into
putting it out there.
Yeah, something tangible.
Yeah, turning those raw emotions into something meaningful.
Yes.
And the beauty is it doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
In fact, trying to be perfect can sometimes stifle the whole creative process.
Oh, tell me about it. I've spent hours tweaking one paragraph or overthinking an idea, and then poof!
It's gone.
That initial spark is gone.
Yep, totally lost it.
And I'm like, ugh.
And that's where this blogger's message really hits home, I think. They say, writing doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be mine. And I think that's such a powerful reminder that authenticity is more important than perfection.
It's about finding your voice, letting it shine through imperfections and all.
And that's what makes creative work so compelling, right?
Totally.
It's like a glimpse into someone's soul.
It's true.
Yeah.
So how do we overcome that fear of not being perfect? How do we silence that inner critic? The one that's you're not good enough.
Oh, we all know that voice.
Right.
It's, it's a practice. It's like a conscious choice to shift your focus from the end result to the process. It's about embracing the journey, the experimentation, the messy middle where the magic happens.
Okay.
And the blogger, they seem to have found that balance. They acknowledge their own internal struggles with self-doubt. But ultimately, they choose to create anyway.
I love that.
And that's a key takeaway here, that power of taking action, even when you're afraid.
Right.
And, maybe Sagittarius season with its whole emphasis on boldness, taking risks, maybe that gave them the extra push they needed.
Yeah.
But the real transformation happens when we choose to act.
Okay.
When we choose to do the thing.
That call to action at the end of the blog post was it gave me chills.
Yeah, it's really inspiring.
They're chase your dreams. Stop waiting for the perfect moment and just start. If you've been waiting for a sign, they say, this is it.
It's like a universal go.
Yes.
Yeah. And it reminds me of what we were talking about earlier,
Right.
aligning those internal desires with external forces.
Yeah.
Sometimes all it takes is a little nudge.
A little spark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that spark can come from anywhere. A conversation, a book, a blog post,
Right.
even an astrological season.
Totally.
The point is to be open to it.
Yeah.
To pay attention to those little whispers from the universe.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so be receptive and then have the courage to actually act on it.
Exactly. So we've explored this whole energy of Sagittarius season. We've talked about the blogger's personal journey.
Yeah.
And really this powerful message of embracing imperfection.
Yeah.
And as we move into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want you to think about how these ideas apply to your own life.
Okay.
What are some creative things that you've been putting off?
Ooh. That is a question we'll all be pondering as we head into the last part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
You know, since you asked me that question in the last part, I've been like really thinking about what creative things I've been putting off. And honestly, the answer kind of scares me.
That's pretty normal, actually.
Really?
Well, a lot of us, we build up these dreams in our heads.
Yeah.
And the bigger they get, the harder it is to actually start, you know?
Yeah, it's like I have this perfect vision of this thing I want to create, but then like the reality of starting, you know,
Yeah.
and maybe messing it up or having it not be what I pictured.
Right.
gotta-
It's like,
It's paralyzing.
yeah, totally. And that's that perfectionism trap we were talking about.
Yeah.
The sneaky way we sabotage ourselves.
Uh-huh.
Instead of celebrating the fact that we're creating something.
Yeah.
We're so worried about not being good enough.
And that's why I think this blog post is so powerful, because the blogger is so open about the messiness of it all.
Yeah.
You know, they're not afraid to show that it's not always pretty.
They embrace it.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so relatable, I think.
Yep.
Because it reminds us that we
These are
don't
all- yeah.
we don't have to have all the answers to start creating.
Right.
We can stumble, we can experiment, we can even fail, and that's part of the journey.
It's like they're giving us permission to let go of that need to control everything.
Yeah, let go of the reins a little bit.
Yeah. Trust the process. And to just enjoy creating, just for the sake of creating.
And I think that's a really important point.
Yeah.
Because creativity, it's not just about the end product. It's a mindset, you know? It's a way of being in the world that's open to new things.
So it's not just about writing or painting or whatever.
Right. It's bigger than that.
It's about how you approach your whole life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Approaching life with curiosity and a willingness to try things.
Maybe that's the real lesson of Sagittarius season then. You know, it's that reminder to just be adventurous,
Yeah.
to say yes to new experiences, and be open to being surprised.
I love that. To be surprised by what you discover along the way.
This whole deep dive has been amazing.
I'm glad you think so.
You know, we've explored Sagittarius season,
Yeah.
the blogger's story, and really just, you know, our own relationship with creativity.
Right.
And we've, I think, uncovered some really valuable insights.
Definitely.
But the real work starts now.
That's true.
So for everyone listening out there, think about this. What's one tiny step? It doesn't have to be big. You can take today to get closer to that creative dream you've been putting off.
Yeah.
And what would it feel like to create without judging yourself?
That's the key.
Embrace the mess, you know, and just enjoy the process. This deep dive might be over,
It is, yeah.
but your creative journey,
Your journey is just beginning.
it's